the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. Channels vary by subscription plan. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
Looking for a unique point of view on pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.
There you go now.
I think I'm
Oh, that's it. That's it. You gotta get this. You gotta get this. That's it.
If you've been thinking about buying a home, you need to be in the zone, the home buying zone. You need a game plan to win in this great real estate market. The Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage has all your bases covered. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, purchasing your dream home, refinancing, consolidating debt, or even considering a reverse mortgage, contact the Big C team at Equity Zone Mortgage today. They have the lowest closing costs and they'll close your loan on time, guaranteed, or they'll pay your first mortgage payment. And they even have a 3.5% purchase down payment grant that can get you into a home with little money out of your pocket. It doesn't get more clutch than that, folks. Score big on the biggest purchase of your life. Call Equity Zone Mortgage today at 1-800-772-8624. That's 1-800-772-8624. Or apply online at equityzonemortgage.com and tell them Big C sent you, as heard on the Big C Sports Podcast. 14868.
Rondo Deportes, Bonjour, Vivi Vici. Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Jonathan of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who love the universe. And that would include you. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Shut up! Fool, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, it's not my fault you voted for me to be the neighborhood spokesperson. If you've ever been voted neighborhood spokesperson, you always want to bring the people together. Some people don't like it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's their fault. They voted for me. You should have counted all the votes. And I was a write-in, if that makes sense to you. I want to say what a beautiful September 17th, 2024. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard in the world when you go by and test drive yours. Tell them sit you, where the good Lord split you. And hopefully the good Lord didn't split you too wide, because that tends to happen when you go to those fast food restaurants. As I almost did today, but I made a U-turn when they told me it was $7 for a hamburger. I said, $7? I said, just how much for the meat? They said, we don't sell the meat by itself, sir. I said, well, I'll pass. I'll pass if I can't just have some meat. If that makes sense to you. I didn't need all that bread. I want to say, on Big C Sports Podcast, I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We should all have more laughter in our lives. I also want to tell you, when it comes to laughter, I love doing the laughter. I even do the play-by-play. I have first and 10, 50-yard lines, 4 wideouts, 5-man front, the snap rolling to his right. Montana throws downfield. It is caught by Jerry Rice. Touchdown, Niners! Jerry Rice, 50 yards. Will you please turn the TV down? I was playing some flashbacks from the 49ers games in the heyday, Montana to Rice. And some of my neighbors, they don't appreciate it when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to have the good days. I want the good days when Bang Bang the game was real. I want the good days back in Montana to Rice were good days for the 49ers in Dimdale Hills, California. And then the show is uploaded to 29 podcast applications out of New York City, and streaming on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV. And then I never missed a show since starting Big C Sports back in the day with the crew at Salem Media. And now we have people who miss practice. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about practice. Now we got people who miss practice. You want to crown them? Crown them. I never missed a day with Big C Sports Podcast. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know what I also love doing with Big C Sports Podcast? I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. Oh, that's not what he said, Big C. He said, let there be light. Well, that's what I mean. You got to shine light on reparations, and I do love saying that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I also want to say, with Big C Sports Podcast, I love paying homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they do the best they can at helping people deal with their issues. The Veterans Crisis Hotline, they will stand on their head to get our veterans some help. You don't have to be a veteran to get the help, but you can call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise, because we all need somebody to lean on. And it so is good when somebody's leaning back. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I got some stuff to talk about today. I got reparations on my mind. Reparations on my mind. Like Jackie Gleason said in the movie Dumb and Dumber, he said, you sound a lot taller on radio. That wasn't Dumb and Dumber, Big C. That was Smokey and the Bandit. Okay, well, Smokey and the Bandit said the same thing. But I got some things to talk about today. For college football, I want to get into Big C's college football. The power rankings, a lot of good things happening, but I also going to touch base on the NFL football game that happened last night in Deer Hills, Pennsylvania, where the Atlanta Falcons, they came soaring in. But these are not your average Falcons. These were super Falcons. They were like pterodactyls, and they beat the Eagles. What, Big C? Yeah, they beat the Eagles. Somebody couldn't hold on to a pass. Don't blame Saquon Barkley. He doesn't play defense, but he should have caught that ball all fair and level. But I want to say that's why they play to win the game. They play to win the game, and I love bringing you the game with Big C Sports Podcast. I also want to bring you some news on a celebrity that many people know. I'm not about jumping on somebody when they're down, but my goodness, the dirt comes out in the wash, and there are things that I've seen with my own 2 eyes on videotape, and I heard with my own 2 ears that were kind of showed you things were coming. I got some talk on what happened with that celebrity. I'll bring that up in just a little bit. But I do want to say with the Big C Sports Podcast, I love doing what I do, and I want to make sure that I'm very accurate and very factual. Whatever I do, you can Google it. Whatever I say, you can Google it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, I believe in the California reparations push. There's some things that happened at the state capitol that were shenanigans. Someone tried to wreck the buffet at the Harold Club, the great Eddie Murphy and Beverly Hills Cop. But they tried to wreck the buffet, and they used shenanigans. But those shenanigans know that the dirt will come out in the wash, and we will find out who tried to wreck the buffet at the reparations rally in Sacramento, California, known as Deer Hills, California. That will come out in the wash, if that makes sense to you. But before I get into the Big C's college football, and I want to get into my commercial, I've been working on a commercial. Now, I've also got a report. I've been taking a speed reading class. What kind of class, Big C? I've been taking a speed reading class because I'm trying to talk fast with some of my shows. There's just so much to chew on, like chewing on the Big C burger. What's the Big C burger? Oh, the Big C burger is the one that comes with, what's all those exotic meats? 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, and collard greens on a sesame seed bun. And people often ask, what's all those exotic meats? I don't tell you what the exotic meats are. They just taste good. Just put them in your mouth and chew on it because it tastes good. Just put it in your mouth and chew on it. And rumor has it, the Big C burger, it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. That's my story. That's what I've been told. It tastes better in your mouth than it does in your head. You got to chew that food. Chew all that food. Don't be throwing nothing away. I got to tell you, pay attention. I have a quiz coming up, and you don't want to flunk this quiz because I do it all over the air. Meaning all over the universe. I hear more people saying the universe. As if they didn't know black men discovered the universe first. You know it's true. If all life began in Africa, then all life began in the universe. Discovered by a black man. That's why it's black. That's my story. But everybody's invited. That's why they turn the light on for you. Remember that commercial back in the day? This is Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you. You better leave the light on, especially in space, but nobody can hear you scream. That's my story. I'm thinking with it. Oh, Lord have mercy. I have a guide to protect, preserve, and transfer wealth to Resource Development Consulting, Inc., in conjunction with the law office of Scott Thibodeau, attorney at law, and also attorney George Jones, Esquire, the Missing Link Long-Term Care Solutions by the book. Over 3 decades of experience helping seniors get their benefits, Medicare and You, and taking care of tomorrow. In California, it's called Medi-Cal, and other states, it's called Medicaid. I gotta tell you that your family and spouse can avoid the spin down for nursing home costs. You can find out your options. 800-772-8624, 800-772-8624, and tell them Big C sent you. I promise to you, we specialize to navigate and maximize long-term care benefits, protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you, without the spin down, all paperwork. What kind of assets do you protect? I said protection of your assets. Is that the duck? No, the duck is Aflac. That's Gap Insurance. A duck can't protect his own assets, let alone yours, if that makes sense to you. I want to say all paperwork and communication with all government agencies are handled by a staff of entitlement specialists, ongoing consulting to provide updates as necessary. How often is necessary, Big C? However often you need. That's how necessary. Benefits covering skilled nursing facilities, prescription medications, medical equipment costs, and more. But not only that, listen up, people. Protection of your assets, if that makes sense to you. Did you sneeze, Big C? No, I didn't sneeze. I'm trying to protect your assets, if that makes sense to you, including your home, thereby allowing you to leave a legacy for your family. You gotta like my sneeze button. Protection of your assets. You gotta protect the assets because you don't want somebody to come after your assets, if that makes sense to you. That's why you gotta have a will and a trust. I was talking to some good old boys, some attorneys, and they were saying that 7 out of 10 people in America do not have a will and a trust. How many people, Big C? 7 out of 10 people in America do not have a will and a trust, but they have cable TV. What's cable TV do for you, Big C? It just sucks money out of your wallet. That's why you got to start streaming and following Big C Sports Podcast. You got to get the apps. That's my story. You got to have asset protection. You get that through a will and a trust. Which line would you stand in? 7 out of 10 in America do not have a will and a trust, but they have cable TV. That will not help you in probate. Avoid the nightmare of debt brought by the government's estate recovery program called probate. You bet your assets. If you don't have a will and a trust, the probate court will have a will for you, and you will not like it. Spock, are you Vulcan mind? That's what Captain Kirk was always telling Spock, because Spock refused to have a will and a trust. He thought, I'm a Vulcan. I can use the Vulcan mind meld to get out of trouble. But you needed a mind that has the common sense to get a will and a trust, a one-time processing fee versus monthly insurance premiums for the rest of your life. I'm not done yet. I said I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Protection, insurance coverage required by a law, general liability, workers' compensation, lawyers specializing in living trust, Medicaid or Medi-Cal planning for long-term care, avoid probate. Life insurance policies, veterans benefits, aid and attendance, pre-planning, and avoid the look-back period. What about fixed assets, Big C? Will a trust protect that? I'm glad you asked. A trust protects your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your money market accounts, your certificates of deposit, life insurance with cash values, fixed index annuities. It also protects your variable assets, your real estate, your qualified money, IRAs, 401ks, and other investments. For example, avoid capital gains. Let's say you buy a house for $100,000, and a year later that house appreciates to $1 million. According to some real estate brokers, they will tell you that in order to get the sale, well, that's a $900,000 capital gain. You avoid that when your property's in a trust. That's good to know, Big C. That's good to know. It is good to know. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Attention business owners. You got to find out your other options to protect what your insurance does not cover. How do we do that, Big C? You call 800-772-8624. 800-772-8624. Well, Big C, my friend, he also does trust. Why would we trust you and RDC team? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked, because we have endorsements. Unlike a lot of brokers, they don't tell you who their endorsements are because they don't have any. But not only do we have endorsements, they sing about it at high school games. It's called, you've heard that song when you're standing in the stands. We got endorsements. Yes, we do. We got endorsements. How about you? Remember those days at the high school football games? You'll hear it on Friday night. Well, our endorsements are the late James Gomez, who advised 4 California governors and led change in California's nursing homes. He also served on Golden One's board of directors for 21 years. He was the CEO of the California Association of Health Facilities. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have the late Robert Carlson. He was a top legal counsel for CalPERS. He endorsed the RDC team. But not only that, we have George Jones, attorney Esquire. He's also the chairman of the California Black Chamber of Commerce. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have attorney Scott Thibodeau, one of the top estate planners in Northern California. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Leon Wood. He works with many of the top lobbyists in Northern California, as well as we have Cheryl Brown. She's the chair of the California Commission on Aging. She endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Ray De La Cruz, who's the CEO of Resource Development Consultant, been doing this thing over 34 years and counting. But not only that, we have Alex De La Cruz. He's the founder of American Veteran Benefits. He endorses the RDC team. But not only that, we have Charlton Curry, the co-chair of the National Black Wall Street Project, also business development consultant with the RDC team. Not only that, owner of Big C Sports Podcast Corporation. I endorse the RDC team. But not only that, we have Double O. She's the payout committee for the National Black Wall Street Project. Also, business development consultant with the RDC team. But not only that, has her own economics awareness talk show called Let's Eat. You can Google it on Access in Sacramento, and you can give that some praise. I say give it praise, praise, praise. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You know, I believe in reparations, because reparations means we just want to fix some things that were broken or robbed from us in the past. And I want to do that with the RDC team, doing the trust, and then I focus on the Big C team. I love doing that with Big C Sports Podcast. I do also want to give a thank you again to the Spiritual Life Center, uncover the hidden legacy of slavery in America, and they have me there as a sponsor along with J. King, California Black Chamber of Commerce. I believe so many great things are happening with Big C Sports Podcast. And before I get into some stories that I want you to hear, and I talk about reparations because it's important, and I know that our mind is a terrible thing to waste. I'm not one of the programs that will just come on and talk about touchdown, home run, 3-point play, old man Willie, he's going all the way. Old man Willie's going all the way. There's nothing wrong with that, but I want to make sure that the people of California, this great state, pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force, because I know a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I don't want to lose my mind, and I don't want to waste my mind on the air. I do want to say I want to give praise to the inimitable Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of the great state of California. She worked together with the California Governor Gavin Newsom that mandated the task force, and that's something that they did a few years ago, and they came up with some recommendations for reparations for the descendants of child slavery. And then somebody tried to put a banana in the tailpipe. Someone tried to wreck the buffet at the Herald Club, but I don't want to wreck the buffet. I want to do the best I can to bring light on the subject, and that's what I do with the Big C Sports Podcast. And I hope that you will join me too when I do this. I want to give praise to the chair, Camila Moore. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She's also been on Big C Sports Podcast Corporation, and then she's also working with Ben and Crump, doing some wonderful things that would be great for this country. I want to give praise to her. I also want to give praise to Dr. Amos C. Brown. He's the vice chair of the California Reparations Task Force. He also came on the Big C Sports Podcast about 3 months ago, and he gave the benediction at the Democratic National Convention. I love giving him praise. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. He also sponsored Name, Image, and Likeness, that a lot of student college athletes, they get paid on their name, image, and likeness. He's the one who worked on that bill. The inimitable California Senator Stephen Bradford. He also crafted the Ebony Alert that helps law enforcement put the same amount of resources into finding missing black children as the Amber Alert puts into finding missing white children. And he also helped pass Senate Bill 1050 for eminent domain by a 56-0 vote. How much, Big C? A 56-0 vote. So when people say, well, reparations is divisive, Divisive? Divisive? What do you mean divisive? Slavery was divisive. If reparations for descendants of African American, of chattel slavery, if that's divisive, so it be divisiveness created by the Just Act that makes sure descendants of Holocaust get reparations. People don't call that divisive. If slavery and reparations is divisive for descendants of chattel slavery, then so would it be divisive that the Japanese Americans got reparations for their internment camps. It's not divisive. We were excluded from the 1866 Indian Treaty. That was divisive. The Homestead Act of 1862, that gave over 300 million acres of land to white people, and even white Europeans, they told black people no. That was divisive. You want to know what divisive was? The GI Bill that rewarded white soldiers when they came back from World War II. They told black soldiers no. That was divisive. That was divisive. That was divisive. Liberty and justice for all is never divisive. Descendants of chattel slavery deserve reparations. I want to give praise to California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want us to give praise to Council Member Monica Montgomery Stepp. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I also want to give praise to her attorney, Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. She specializes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to give praise to Dr. Shell Grills. She's brilliant. I love giving her praise. I want to give praise to Dr. Javon Scott Lewis. He's brilliant. I love giving him praise. I'm a little bit, not even a little bit, I'm disappointed in Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He got a bill that got passed through for apology. You cannot eat an apology. You cannot take an apology to the grocery store and buy food for your children. You cannot take an apology to the gas station and buy gas for your car. But he was happy that he got the apology. But he blocked the vote for reparations. He wrecked the buffet at the state capitol. He put the banana in the tailpipe, and then he was shucking and jiving as he's walking down the hallway. He was also on Big C Sports Podcast about 3 weeks ago. But I'm very disappointed in him, and I'm sure his ancestry are too. He blocked reparations. That's a shame. I want to give praise to Attorney Donald K. Tamaki, Japanese American whose ancestry got reparations from the internment camps. He didn't block the reparations vote. I want to give them all praise because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. I said give them praise, praise, praise. That's my spirit. I'm thinking with it. Before I close out on my talk of reparations, people say, oh, Big C, there you go again, talking all that reparation stuff. Can't we all just get along? I want to play for all of you the greatest speaker in the history of this country that said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.
Because of insane trade policies and because of Reaganomics. And Martin Luther King spoke to this. Jim and Shane, this is clip number 4. Martin Luther King spoke to this sometime back in the early 60s. And I thought this was a really interesting quote. Here he is.
The problem. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Reparations now! Reparations forever!
It's the two nations of black America. And it's absolutely brilliant. And the next time some white person talks about, well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and my family did too, especially the Bundy boys. I mean, here's Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. talking about
how basically whites stole the West from the Indians with the and didn't just steal it. I mean, murdered them he murdered the Indians in the process, and did not give any of these benefits to African Americans for 100 years in this country. You know, it's a strong case for reparations or some variation on it, for rebuilding our cities, for doing right after having done wrong for so many centuries. It is a very, very strong case for that.
Reparations forever! I want to make sure that you hear my thoughts on reparations. I love being a part of that movement in California, and that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I also want to bring you some breaking news on a rap mogul that just came to my attention today.
Breaking news tonight, as we can now report here at CNN that the embattled musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs has now been arrested. That's according to the mogul's attorney and what they are telling CNN tonight. According to a source, Combs was arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening. He is right now being processed. The charges are unclear at this time, and an attorney for Combs tells CNN, quote, "We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs." CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister is with us right now. Elizabeth, what can you tell us about this arrest tonight?
We don't have many details at this moment, but just hearing from his attorney directly that he has been arrested, I am hearing that even his attorneys are not clear on what these charges are at the moment, but he was arrested tonight in a Manhattan hotel. He is currently being processed. And of course, we know that this comes after months and months of this mogul having an immense fall from grace. He has 10 civil suits against him, many of which include very disturbing allegations of sexual assault, of drugging. It's important to note that Combs has denied most of these allegations, but you'll remember a few months ago when we broke that video of Combs violently beating his ex-girlfriend Cassie in the hallway of a Los Angeles hotel room, and that came after he had denied many allegations that were in her lawsuit. I want to remind our viewers that that lawsuit came out in November of 2023, and ever since then it has been a constant domino effect. We heard at the time that Diddy was the target of an investigation. We learned that that investigation was tied to sex trafficking. And months later, we exclusively broke at CNN that a grand jury, that this was presented to a grand jury and that they were prepping accusers to speak with a grand jury.
Well, that was by CNN News, reported, playing again on Big C Sports. And Dolores Tucker spoke about the angle many decades ago that some of that industry was going down the wrong road in our entertainment, hip-hop industry that so many people defend. And just going from what CNN reported, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs, who has faced a parade of sexual assault lawsuits and a federal human trafficking probe in the last year alone, has been arrested. The producer's attorney tells CNN that Mr. Combs was arrested Monday night at the Park Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan and taken into custody by Homeland Security investigators. A source familiar with negotiations for his surrender told CNN the charges and details of the case against Combs are unclear. The arrest warrant and was made based on an indictment that is expected to be unsealed today, Tuesday. Again, New York's 3 hours ahead of California, but Tuesday morning, according to a statement from Damian Williams, United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, and HSI, the lead investigative arm of the Department of Homeland Security, is responsible for investigating transitional and transnational crimes and threats, including human trafficking, terrorism, drug smuggling, and other organized criminal activity. And Combs has been in New York since last week. His attorney said negotiations for his surrender had been ongoing, and a grand jury voted to indict on Monday, according to the source. and said they're disappointed with the decision to pursue what they believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the United States Attorney's Office. At the same time, an attorney told CNN his opinion. Now, Combs' attorney said that the musician has been cooperating with the investigation that led to the indictment and voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. His team maintains his innocence and says he has nothing to hide. And then Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon, self-made entrepreneur, a loving family man, and proven philanthropist who has spent the last 30 years building an empire and so many other things and working to uplift the African-American community. But I saw some things on videotape that's hard for me to believe. And for people that want to come to the aid of anyone, imagine if that were your daughter being kicked, that I saw in a videotape. I mean, whatever it is, the dirt comes out in the wash. His attorney is asking people to please reserve your judgment until you have all the facts. And these are the facts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, except for the videotape I saw with my own eyes. And he looks forward to clearing his name in court. There's a lot of things that goes on in that industry where people do whatever they can. I've heard people sell their souls to become rich and famous. I even heard Bill Cosby talk about it. It's a Faustian contract where you have this short-term fame for riches, lifestyle of the rich and famous, but it comes at a price. Following the home raids, a law enforcement source told CNN that the federal probe stems from many of the sexual assault allegations made in several civil lawsuits against the producer. CNN learned that the scope of the investigation is much larger, focusing on sex trafficking, money laundering, and illegal drugs. Since November, Combs has been hit with 10 lawsuits, 9 directly accusing him of sexual assault. As previously reported by CNN, and several of those accusers have met with federal investigators for questioning as part of the probe. Now, there are people who were coming to the defense or the accusation, and they know nothing about it other than what I saw in videotape and from knowing people in the entertainment industry that don't have the highest opinion of P. Diddy. But CNN exclusively reported in May that federal investigators were preparing to bring accusers of Combs before a federal grand jury for testimony, a significant escalation in the government's investigation that signaled the Justice Department was moving toward potentially seeking an indictment of the rapper and businessman. Well, it's disturbing what I saw in footage, because Combs previously denied all wrongdoing alleged and in various lawsuits. However, he issued a public apology after CNN exclusively released a surveillance footage earlier this year that showed Combs brutally assaulting his former girlfriend. I believe her name was Miss Cassie. And in a Los Angeles motel in March 2016. In response to the numerous inquiries we received regarding an indictment of Sean Combs, neither Miss, I want to say that lady's name again, they have any comment. And there's an attorney by the name of Douglas Wigdor who represented the lady that was in the video, said in a statement Tuesday, "We appreciate your understanding, and if that changes, we will certainly let you know." They told CNN, you can read the story on your own, but he faces a slew of civil lawsuits, and he's in trouble. He's in big trouble. And the dirt will come out in the wash. And I feel for the victims of assault. Because the one I saw with my own two eyes. And I saw it with my own two eyes. I know Weinstein has been accused and indicted for the same behavior. There have been people in media at Fox News that were indicted for the same behavior. I think some of those settled. And they're throwing the book at Sean Puffy Combs. And people know what they do. The dirt will come out in the wash. But I feel for women who have to put up with that crap, sometimes thinking if they can just get close to a rich man, that life's going to be easier. Well, the devil looks good too. It could be a man or a woman. And it's unfortunate. Dolores Tucker spoke about what that industry was perpetuating decades ago, and people frowned on her for doing that. The late Dolores Tucker. It's a shame. Jones, who worked as a videographer and producer for Combs, accused Combs of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and grooming, and claims to have video and audio recording of the musician and his staff engaging in serious illegal activity, according to a complaint filed in New York federal court. There are a lot of entertainers and even civilians who have cameras throughout their homes, and those cameras record good and bad. And that is probably what led, along with other allegations, to the arrest. This is something that young people that want to become rich and famous, and you want to sell your soul to get into an industry or to be around certain people who sing about misogyny and doing everything that's harmful to other human beings, especially the women. And there are some women who can't wait to be around that kind of man because he's rich and famous. Oh, girl, he got it going on. Ooh, girl, he got it going on. Look at what he's driving. Look at how he lives. You don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. But some people, they think it's worth the price of a few minutes of fame and fortune. Among other allegations, Jones claims that Combs forced him to produce and interact with sex workers, threatened him, and served alcoholic beverages laced with drugs to house party guests. That's why I don't drink when I'm out with other people. Drink at home. Sean Hawley, Combs' attorney, denied the allegations in a statement to CNN, calling Jones a liar. Many people said what you saw in the videotape with your own eyes was a liar too. His reckless name-dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines. We have overwhelming, indisputable proof that his claims are complete lies, Hawley said in the statement. And one of his 10 suits against Combs named him as an defendant, but brought claims of sexual assault against Combs. It's just too much for me to get into, but I don't like to put my head in the sand. I just say to men and women, you think you want to be rich and famous? I had a lady tell me one time, I think I was about 19 years old, and I was saying it would be great to be rich and famous. She said, it's great to be rich but not famous. I said, well, why not? I was about 19 years old. I was in college. And she said, you don't know what people do to become rich and famous. Some people will sell their souls to become rich and famous. Oh, there you go talking about selling souls. Well, there are people who will do whatever they can. We heard of the Hollywood casting couch. That stuff, we've heard of the Hollywood casting couch, and we know that stuff is real. And I'm sure right now, just like Weinstein when he came out, when he got indicted, and Jeffrey Epstein, we know what happened to him. There are a lot of people that are rich and famous because they're chosen. They're allowed to be a part of that fame. There's certain things you got to do, as Bill Cosby talked about it, called Faustian contracts. You can Google it, where you sell yourself to become rich and famous, but for the blink of an eye. But some people are willing to do that. Some people want to be a part of that society so bad, they would do anything it takes, whatever it takes. But there are people who will prey on people because they know that you're gullible. And unfortunately, a lot of Hollywood allegedly has dealt with that. A lot of people on TV who are rich and famous, or these entertainers who are rich and famous, it's not because they're super talented, because they signed that Faustian contract. I was even offered one about 5 years ago. I didn't sign it. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And some things that I saw when I was asked to sign it happened right in front of my eyes. I said, God, that's God giving me some premonitions. Right in front of my face, I had the person offer me the contract, and another person who had already signed the contract came, and they were having an argument right in front of me, saying some things that I needed to hear, as she was smiling with her boobs all up in the air, her t-shirt on, nipples showing through. saying how she's gonna make me rich and famous. You're gonna be rich and famous. And she named all these wealthy people and these famous people that I see on TV. I'll never forget it. Why did God bring that man into that room and she was talking to me? Came through her door and started calling her, you blibbity blib blap, you blobbity blop blib, I know you want to smash. And she's sitting there looking like Marilyn Monroe turned bright red. And she said, you need to get out of here, I'm having a meeting right now. And he said to me, you sure you want to work with this blibbity blobbity blop? Blonde hair, blue-eyed, nipples showing through her t-shirt. Never forget it. Can't make this stuff up. And I've seen this most of my life, how people get caught up. But a lot of times, people on TV that you see that are rich and famous, they have to sign somebody's contract to get there. They don't just put you on TV because you're talented. I mean, this is a story that's fascinating because I followed the hip-hop entertainment industry for years. When I went to college, I studied media. I ran the TV department. And I've known people that made that next step to be rich and famous. And you wonder, how do they get there? And I know how they get there. Not all of them. I'm just saying what I've seen with my own two eyes. Only God knows what I was thinking when she presented that contract to me. Looking like she was ready to go to bed with me. And I was in a business suit. But I've seen it, and a lot of men have seen it too. Everything that look good ain't good for you. Men and women. Because some people, they just want to smash! And oftentimes, you're laying down with people because you think it's going to make you rich and famous. And they got other alternatives, ulterior motives. So I'll be interested in watching what's going on with this case because I want to steer myself away from it. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. No matter what happens, young people, as you get into these situations where you want to be rich and famous, be careful. Be careful what you're doing. In fact, more than be careful, let people know who you're dealing with. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Big C, I thought you were going to tell me who won the game. I am going to tell you who won the game. Are you ready for some football? I want to cover last night NFL football. Can you believe the Falcons beat the Eagles, but they're not your ordinary Falcons. It was 22-21 in Philadelphia. Kirk Cousins capped a winning drive with a touchdown pass, and they pull out a win in Philadelphia. Say it ain't so. Atlanta expected $180 million Kirk Cousins to get them to the promised land. I don't think it's going to get them to the promised land, but he got them a win last night. He's a 36-year-old veteran, had a lot of concerns in their loss to Pittsburgh, and also after he came back from his Achilles tendon injury, what he had at Minnesota. But Cousins claimed fears down. He calmed them down the stretch and made all the clutch throws in Philadelphia. His kind-of-out touchdown, Jalen Hurts could not, and sent the Falcons home winners. And Cousins, you know, they were so high, they flew back to Atlanta. And Kirk Cousins led a flawless last-minute drive for Atlanta and connected with Drake London for a 7-yard touchdown with 34 seconds left to give the Falcons a 22-21 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was a game, went right down to the wire. It's amazing how games are so close in the NFL this year. That reminds me a lot of what happened with Kansas City. Got that last-second field goal win over the Cincinnati Bengals. But for Atlanta, they needed that win. You can't start 0-2. And for the Eagles, they started the season playing in Brazil, and they beat the Green Bay Packers in a close game, but they won nonetheless. But congratulations to Atlanta. That's a tough game for Atlanta to go into Philadelphia in front of that crazy crowd and get a win. It's a tough place to win, but they found a way to do it, and that's how football should be. They say it's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And sometimes that's all you have, or some agony. And I know the crowd in Philadelphia, they want to fire everybody. Fire the coach. They don't fire the coach. It's the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. We know that's what football is. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. But I got to tell you what a great game it was. If you don't like that, then you got to find something else to do with your time. I want to touch on Big C's college football, the power rankings. I know NFL football is fantastic, but they all come from someplace. and I want to give you my thoughts on Big C's college football. I want to tell you, the West Coast lost the Pac-12 teams, but they are trying to put together some teams to join Oregon State and Washington State, and they're looking at San Diego State, UNLV, Colorado State, Boise State, Fresno State. I believe there's talks of Sacramento State joining the Pac-12 as well by 2026. And I would think they would bring in University of Nevada, Reno. That's just my opinion. And why not add San Jose State? Large media markets that would help with the TV coverage of what would be the new Pac-12, whether there's 8 or 10 teams. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. But I got to get into the Big C's college football power rankings. Texas. How about those Texans? The Texas Longhorns, they jumped the Ohio State Buckeyes for number 2 in the Associated Press top 25 polls. I have Big C's polls too. I have my own polls. You want to crown them? Crown them. The late, great Dennis Green said you want to crown them, but we got to play the games first. Texas, they've taken the number 1 spot, and Big C named it before they even had that big win last week and before Georgia nearly beat Kentucky. Now, Georgia, they haven't lost a game in regular season in about 3 years. The only loss came at the hands of Alabama in the SEC championship game. It's the first time that Texas has been ranked number 1 in the polls since 2008. And it marks yet another sign that the Texas Longhorns, that they are actually back alive and kicking. Will they win the SEC in their first year? They may just do it. Texas got the bump over Georgia, not just off the strength of a big win against University of Texas San Antonio, completed with plenty of drama as quarterback Quinn Ewers left with an injury, and then Arch Manning, the son of Archie Manning and Peyton Manning's brother, they have a long list of winning. Eli Manning, Peyton Manning come out of the loins of Archie Manning, and now you have another relative that's out there throwing the football up and down the field. We will see what happens, as Texas is loaded. They have a lot of talent. But the Bulldogs struggled in the 13-12 win at Kentucky. The Longhorns received 35 first-place votes, while Georgia received 23. And Ohio State was off in Week 3, received the final 5 first-place votes. The big game this week is Michigan at home in the Big House versus the USC Trojans, the men of Troy. And if the men of Troy can go on to Michigan and knock them off, and I think they will, they may have a big jump into the top 5. That's my straight-up ticket with it. But I got to look at teams like Tennessee. They're always a good team, but they never win the SEC. So right now it's a little bit of fool's gold with Tennessee being ranked so high. I gotta get my background right too. I gotta get my background right. All right, now that's the kind of music I'm talking about. Are you ready for some more college football? Yeah! Of course you are. I love college football. And I want to get back to Big C's college football rankings. Is my story. I'm sticking with it. You got to think about Tennessee. They never really win anything big. They don't win the SEC, but they're always a good team. And then the Miami Hurricanes, they are back. They're playing like the Miami Hurricanes. They had that 57-game win streak at the Orange Bowl until the University of Washington snapped it back in the day with the great Napoleon Kaufman doing his thing. But Miami continues to win, and they will enter the debate for who is the best team in the ACC. I think it's Miami. The Vols have the number 1 scoring offense at 64 points per game, but they're not playing tough teams. And then number 3 defense, allowing just 4.3 points per game. Wait until they get into the meat of the SEC. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. At the same time, they blasted Kent State on Saturday night. The Vols, they crashed the top 10 last week, up 7 spots after a 51-10 win against North Carolina State in Charlotte. And now they look at the top 5. Up to number 6 after delivering one of the biggest headline wins of the week. Miami Hurricanes, they continue to win, and they continue to win big. And they climb the rankings. The Hurricanes took care of business without too much stress or concern, handing Ball State a 62-0 defeat at Hard Rock Stadium. Miami was the only team in the top 20 to move up in multiple spots, now at number 8. Further down the rankings, the losers, the only 2 unranked games of the week, Arizona and Boston College. Both of them fell out of the top 25, and that made room for Illinois to make it to the top 25 in number 24. And then Texas A&M came off of a win at Florida to make the return to the top 25 at number 25 in the Associated Press poll. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. But I want to give you Big C's thoughts. I'm going to give you all of what I feel the Big C's top 25 teams. I got number 25, Texas A&M Aggies. Number 24, Illinois Fighting Illini. Number 23, Northern Illinois Huskies. That's because of their upset win over Notre Dame. I still feel Illinois is a better team than Northern Illinois. Number 22, Nebraska. This is not your Tom Osborne, Nebraska Cornhuskers. But the Black Shirts, they're playing good football. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. Number 21, Clemson. After a beat down by Georgia, they bounced back a little bit. Iowa State, the Cyclones, they had an in-state rival win over Iowa last week. Number 19, Louisville, the Cardinals. I got number 18, the Michigan Wolverines. They had a little bounce back after their loss to the Texas Longhorns. Number 17, Notre Dame Fighting Tigers. They want to play like champions. Number 16, LSU. The Tigers, how about those Tigers? They're back on the winning ways after being dominated by USC. Number 15, Oklahoma. The Sooners. The Sooners are in the top 15. Oklahoma State. How about those Cowboys? The Cowboys of Oklahoma State. I have them at Big C's in number 14. I got to tell you, the Kansas State, those good old boys, they are at number 13. I got them right behind Utah. What's a Ute? The Utah Utes out of the Wasatch Mountains. I have them at number 12. I got number 11, Penn State, the Nittany Lions. Got them ranked right ahead of the Utah. In fact, they played in the Rose Bowl a couple of years ago, and Penn State won that game. I got to get number 10, the USC Trojans. Fight, fight, fight. You want a Trojan? You want a horse? Well, get your horse, Frank said in Scarface, and the USC Trojans. If that horse can run in Michigan and knock out the Michigan Wolverines, and I think they will, USC has a great passing attack. It's going to be on display as they go into the big house in their first year in the Big Ten. I got number 9, quack, 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 quack. I got the Oregon Ducks ranked number 9 in Big C's college football power rankings. Right in front of the Oregon Ducks, I have the U. The U is back. The Miami Hurricanes, they are back. They are doing their thing, beating down their opponents. And then Ward's a great quarterback that came out of Washington State. I have number 7, Missouri, the Missouri Tigers. They're a good team. They may be higher than what they should be, in my opinion. I got number 6, Tennessee. Obviously leading the nation in scoring, but they haven't really played top teams yet. So we'll see if they continue that as they get into the meat of the SEC. I got number 5, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, can you pass reparations? I got Ole Miss, the Rebels. They are at number 5 in Big C's college football power rankings. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. I got number 4. Do you believe in elephants? You want an elephant? We'll get you an elephant. I thought that was a pelican. Well, Scarface wanted elephants, wasn't it? No, he wanted pelicans. Well, I'm going to say the elephants, the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Alabama is one of the top programs, even though Nick Saban is no longer at the helm. You got to look at the Alabama Crimson Tide. They do their thing every single year. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. How about those Bama? Those Crimson Tide from Alabama. Got them number 4. Maybe they'll still challenge for the SEC championship. I got number 3 in Big C's college football power rankings. The Ohio State. You'd be nuts not to like Ohio State. Now, if Buckeye is a nut, the Ohio State Buckeyes, I got them at number 3 in Big C's college football power rankings. Well, that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Well, what about number 3? What about number 3, Ohio State? I said number 3, Ohio State. Oh, okay. Well, again, Ohio State, number 3, for some people who aren't listening. I got number 2. 2? You said 2? I guess that's how you were raised, the great Chris Rock. The Georgia the Georgia Bulldogs. We want a real Bulldog, Big C. Well, you're going to get Big C's Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs. They did get 23 first-place votes. They've only lost 1 regular season game. No, not 1. They've only lost 1 game in the last 3 years, and that was when they lost the SEC championship to the Alabama Crimson Tide. But they won by the skin of their teeth. The skin of their teeth against Kentucky just last week. That's why they fell. But I had the number 1 team in my opinion. How about those Texans? Those Texans. The Texans? Yeah, the Texans. You mean the Texas University Longhorns? Yeah, the Texas University Longhorns. I have Texas ranked number 1. And right now, They are playing like the number one. They've yet to go through the meat of the SEC. They will have to take on a team like an Alabama, like a Tennessee, and of course Georgia's waiting. Those good old boys, they may clash before the season's over in the SEC championship game or sooner than that. Well, that's my story. I'm thinking with it. Do you believe in miracles? Touchdown, home run, 3-point play. Oh, man, Willie, he's going all the way. I love bringing you a Big C Sports podcast. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. But don't let someone you love get behind the wheel of a car and start driving after they've been drinking. The life you save may be your own, or someone you love, or someone who's loved by somebody else. But just don't do it. Don't drink and drive. If you love someone, don't do it. That's my story, and I'm taking it with it. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports podcast, that's never an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that crap on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, you need more LEADA in your life. LEADA is an acronym for Love is the Answer. You know why? Because if somebody loves you, they don't hit you. All they hit you because it made me mad. Call 911. If someone loves you, they don't kick you. All they kick you because it made me mad. Pick up the phone. Call 911. If someone loves you, they don't choke you out. All they choked you because it made me mad. Pick up the phone and call 911. If someone loves you, they don't slap you, they don't kick you, they don't beat you. Pick up the phone and call 911. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. No man, woman, or child should ever go through that crap on their own. Well, as I always tell you, I love paying homage to my beautiful family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandparents called them mud dead. Actually, Mama and Pop, they were beautiful, loving, kind people, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly, and all those collard greens coming in out of the house. Said, I'm hungry, I want some collard greens. She said, baby, go wash your hands, and you can have some collard greens. I don't have time to wash my hands, I'm hungry now. She said, baby, you wash your hands in this house before you get those collard greens. I said, okay, and I washed my hands, and she gave me the collard greens. Love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful great-grandfather, Pop, former military man, and former Negro League baseball player. I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful grandparents, Muddy and Hezekiah, they were beautiful, loving people. They were called seers. They can oftentimes look at a person and tell you a lot about their past, their present, and their future. They still help me to this day. And then I love them with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. Then I can always depend on my mama, the most beautiful mama in the history of the universe. Started a Head Start program, a food program, and also coaching all boys and Little League baseball team to the championship of the universe. Always saying rise and shine, the best person I ever met in my life. Mama, you hear my praise. I deserve it. I deserve the best. I always thank God. Matthew 7:7, God, you know my prayers. I keep giving you praise, praise, praise. Say yes, God. Say yes. You know what I'm talking about. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then on my father's side, my grandparents, Albert and Alberta Curry, they were pastors. They had 3 churches. They owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. And they owned 40 acres of land. The Homestead Act gave white Americans 160 acres of land, and even white Europeans. But we got our 40. And I remember that. I remember being 8 years old, walking through the hallway about 10 o'clock at night. I felt someone touch me in my forehead. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies? I said, well, what are you doing up, Grandma? It's 10 o'clock at night. You normally go to bed at 8:30. She said, what are you doing, young man? Going to get some cookies? I said, cookies are baby crap to what I'm doing. I'm going to get my reparations. But a couple of cookies wouldn't hurt. It's been a long wait. She said, there's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak. And now Big C Sports Podcast is the #1 sports show in the universe. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always making sure that airplanes can fly high. So we can all stay safe at night, always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. I love my dad with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. A voracious reader. Always saying go forward. In fact, he would say, don't look back because you don't have much backside back there anyway. I said, I love my backside, Todd. He said my backside was too small. I needed to do more squats. So I've been doing more squats lately so my backside can get bigger. I want a bigger backside. I got to get some squats in to get a bigger backside. You know, we love Malcolm X, but one of our favorite movies also was Pulp Fiction. It had Sam Jackson, John Travolta, Ben Rames, and Bruce Willis. Before the big fight, Ben Rames told Bruce Willis, he said, sit your butt down here and take this bag of money. He said, your butt goes down in the 5th round. See that flip? He said, okay, my butt goes down in the 5th round. He told him, that stinging sensation you're feeling, well, that's just pride. Flipping with you. And he said what a lot of football players say to each other. He said, blood pride. He said, pride only hurts. It never helps. He said, football's filled with a lot of unrealistic muddly bluckers who think that butt gets better in time like fine wine. But it don't. In terms of vinegar, then it do. Take this money, and someday you're going to thank Uncle Marsalis. When you're chilling on the beach, you're going to say Uncle Marsalis is right. But we know that Bruce did not take the dive, and he lost his L.A. privileges. I love my brother Todd with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. My beautiful daughter Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. College graduate, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years from a major university. Daisy set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back in the day of Salem Media. It became the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They would normally go to ESPN, but because of 2 black men in the crew, they started doing their things with Salem Media. And then shenanigans set in, and someone wrecked the buffet at the Hero Club, but I'm still standing. Daisy, you can be anything you want. Always trust God. Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Daisy also scored 6 goals in a soccer game. Left-footed, and she's a right-footed kicker. It was Daisy with the kick, Daisy with the goal, 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 goal! You can be anything you want to be, Daisy. Always trust God. Always trust God. And then my beautiful, handsome son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College graduate, very smart, erudite, a good man. You can be anything you want to be, Malcolm. I'm always praying for you. Trust Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get the newspaper and look up stats on players and teams for Big C Sports Podcast. And one day Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? And a light bulb went off. I've been Googling ever since. And then one day Malcolm said, Dad, you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say, play Big C Sports. You'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now it's streaming on 29 podcast platforms and playing on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon and Fire TV. Malcolm, always do the right thing. You can do anything you want to do. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. And then Big C, with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, like my great-grandparents coming out of that barn, always saying you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. Say, let's get ready to rumble. I love saying welcome to the show. It's been nominated Big C Sports Podcast. I have no scripts. I have no 3-way teleprompters. I have no producer in my ear. All I have was this gland in the brain called the pineal gland. The ancients call it the third eye. They say that's how you talk to God. And that's why I scream so loud, because I want God to hear my praise. God, hear my praise, praise, praise. You got to hear my praise. As I always tell you on every Big C Sports Podcast, I love paying homage to the greatest fighter ever, Muhammad Ali. Back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He's known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, and you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. And every time I listen to Big C Sports, I want to champion reparations at last. Reparations at last. Thank God Almighty. Reparations at last. As I always tell you, I pay homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President Abraham Lincoln because we deserve our reparations. And what do they say? What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Reparations. When do we want it? Now. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super, fantastic day.
pro sports game analysis? Then tune in to Big C Sports Podcast on iHeartRadio. Get real sports talk worldwide. Miss a live episode? Replay it on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Join Big C, former NFL player and longtime award-winning radio broadcaster, covering all sports including NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, NCAA, USL, and more. Tune in live or on demand on iHeartRadio Podcast today.